With Republicans gerrymandering the Texas map beyond belief and then Democrats responding in California, escalating into a full-blown gerrymandering war, I thought it would be interesting to check out what we think may happen in the midterms. So I have the map pulled up here. All the seats as they stand right now, as well as the 18 swing districts for this election. I have it based off of the CPR House ratings, nothing fancy. But as we can see, some blue seats are considered lean or likely Republican. And this seat, Nebraska's second, that's Don Bacon's seat over here in Nebraska, right here, this little blue one. That one's considered to lean Democrat, even though a Republican holds it. So I just have those gone ahead and filled in as CPR rates them. But anyway, we have 18 swing districts, these toss-up ones right in the middle. Some Republican, some Democrat. It's interesting that there are only 18 this time. If we go back even to 2018, there were like 30 competitive seats. I don't remember how many were in 2022, but going back to 2018, yeah, there's like 30 competitive seats, 30 toss-ups, I should say, and then there's like 90 that are competitive, right? Likely Democrat through likely Republican. This year, I think if you add them all up, you get like 72. So definitely the country's more polarized. We have less competitive seats, and we definitely have like fewer toss-ups. We have like half, 18 versus 30, compared to only 8 years ago. But anyway, with that all out of the way, we're going to go through west to east, and we're going to rate them as I think they'll turn out as things stand right now, and then we'll talk about the gerrymandering and how that affects it. But as for over here, far northwest, we have Perez here in Washington. I think she'll hold on. She's a blue dog Democrat. She's an incumbent. It's a red district, like R+3 according to CPR, but I think she has it handled. Over here, we have something gray in California's 13th. I think he'll hold on. He's the incumbent. I don't know much about him. We have Derek Tran over here in, what is that? Is that LA? Yeah, so he's in LA. Trump was doing well among Hispanics, but his approval is really cratered, especially with young Hispanics, and due to that, I just don't think he's going to stand much of a chance. Republicans, I should say, won't stand much of a chance in a lot of these border and Hispanic districts. Same thing goes for Arizona and New Mexico, these two districts. I don't think Republicans are going to be able to pull that off. And we'll go up here to Colorado. This district's heavily suburban and I think has a Democrat incumbent. I'm just going to give it to the Democrats. A lot of these I don't know much about, but I think they're going to struggle. Here in Arizona, this one is important because if it was in South Phoenix, Republicans would have a better chance. That's more working class. But again, due to their cratering approval among young voters and also Arizona's fairly educated status, Arizona has a lot of educated voters. They're more likely to turn out. And the demographics in Arizona in a midterm, I think, will favor Democrats. For that reason, I'm going to give that district also to the Democrats. Down here in Texas, now things get interesting. This is Texas's, what district? Let's find out right now. But it's Henry Cuellar's seat. Here we go, Texas's 28th district. It's Henry Cuellar's seat. Henry Cuellar is a moderate Democrat. He outran Kamala by like 15%. That was the best of any representative in the country, if I recall, where he outran his corresponding presidential candidate by the most of anybody. That being said, he's being investigated for corruption, if I remember correctly. And I think that due to lack of Democrat support, I think he'll just go under. The district voted for Trump by like 12% anyway in the 2024 election. He won by like 3% without their support, without the Democrat base's support, and in a in a low propensity, lower class district. I think that he doesn't stand much of a chance. I think that one's going to flip, frankly. We go up here to Iowa. Same story, honestly. Well, I take it back. It's not the same story, but I think Republicans will win in the end. But it's not because it's flipping. It's because Marionette Miller Meeks, the representative from there, is a fairly strong candidate. She has a habit of winning. She wins narrowly every time. And maybe an older, more educated demographic would make her lose. But at the moment, I'm just inclined to say that she'll win because she has a habit of winning, usually very narrowly, but she does it. Going up to Wisconsin, I think you know what's coming. I already selected Democrats, but I think Derek Van Orden, the incumbent, is going to get voted out. He's kind of a blowhard. He's kind of annoying, and he has a habit of rubbing people the wrong way. I think it'll be enough to flip his very competitive district. Over here in Michigan, we have a pretty rural district. It's currently held by a Republican. It kind of dips here into the Detroit suburbs, but I think that the guy at the moment, Tom, he'll be able to hold on. It's a very, like I said, rural district, low propensity district. Not many very educated voters. And so the midterm demographics, I think, will be generally favorable to the Republican there. Going on to Ohio, we have Amelia Sykes. I think she'll hold on. That's like an even district, but in a blue wave year, I think she'll hold on. And then we have Marcy Kaptur. She's pretty popular. Her district is like R+3, but in a blue wave year, I don't think she'll have much of an issue. North Carolina, this is a very black district. Republicans were doing well among black voters, but with the way things are going, I can't give it to them. I just don't think they'll be able to pull it off. I'm going to leave these Pennsylvania districts for the end, but Trump did really well in New York City in 2024. But during the midterms, I just don't think he'll be able to get Republicans out the same way. I just don't think the turnout will be the same. I don't think Republicans will just do as well. I don't see how they can do it. Actually, I'll save Jared Golden for last. Anyway, I have to confess, here in Pennsylvania, I really don't know much about these races. I would give this one to the Democrat just because it's more suburban, right? It's kind of reaching up towards Lackawanna County and Scranton, Pennsylvania. Like I said, more suburban county. I think Democrats will carry the day. Educated suburban voters in 2022 are what prevented the red wave, and in 2026, I think they will be the ones, if anybody, who carry the day for the Democrats. Over here, I honestly don't know. I can't claim to know anything about this district. I think there's a city there, but forgive my ignorance. I'm just going to give it to the Republicans because this last one is the really interesting one. This is Jared Golden's district up here in North Maine. He's a Democrat. He outran Kamala by like 10% though. But he's running again to try to save the House for the Democrats. He turned down a Senate bid to try to run for this seat. We'll get back to the Maine Senate race later. But he's a pretty strong candidate. And in a blue wave year, I think he'll pull it off. Maine's a very old state, older, more educated. And, that's prime real estate for the Democrats. I think he has it handled. So with that, according to the projection, Democrats will win by a single seat majority. But that's not really why we're here. We're here to talk about gerrymandering. So Texas started the gerrymandering. We'll start with them. They drew out 5 Democrat districts. 3 of them I already have flipped. 2 of them because CPR said that they would probably flip, and then the other one was Henry Cuellar's district. So we're just going to draw out 2 more. We're just going to pick 2 random seats and get rid of them, So there, just like that, Republicans win the House. Even if Democrats are flipping a couple seats, let's say they flip this one in Pennsylvania, and let's say they manage to unseat Marionette. It still doesn't, actually at that point they win. But unless they can manage to unseat Marionette, they don't really stand a chance. Let's recolor. Which one did I flip? Here it is. All right, let's move on to California. California did the same thing. They drew out 3 districts. So we're just going to get 3 Republicans out of the House. So if we do that, look at that, boom. Democrats take back the House, right? And then this triggered a full-blown war. Ohio next is going to redistrict. I think they'll draw out these 2 swing districts, maybe one more, but we'll leave it at these 2 swing districts for now. That regains Republicans the advantage, right? So in a lot of ways, you're back to square one, where Republicans, if they win a few swing seats, can still win the House, right? They have to win, 1, 2, 3 swing seats, and then they win the House. But with Florida redistricting, because they've said they're going to redistrict, that makes things far harder, because they're not drawing out swing districts like Ohio is, or at least like I think Ohio is. Florida has decided to draw out a few blue districts. So here's this one in Jacksonville, and then they'll probably draw out one in Miami. Maybe this one over here in, what is that? I don't really know. Was that Orlando? I'm not very educated on Florida geography. Forgive me. I'll get better at this stuff. But anyway, with that out of the way, we end up in a very precarious situation for the Democrats because having drawn out some blue districts, Republicans need to win a single swing seat in order to retake the House. That's bad. And with how relatively popular Marionette is, that would be enough, right? If they did want a single one in Pennsylvania, that would be enough, right? But anyway, moving on. Then we'll leave it like this, right? Democrats with a single vote edge. Maryland said that they're going to redistrict. So if they do that, they only have a single seat to draw out. I assume they'll find a way to do it. New York wants to, Virginia wants to, but they can't do it right now, or there's other complications. And so Democrats are at 219 to 216, but then here comes the real killer. Indiana and Missouri said that they would redraw. And if they do so and they draw out even one seat, Republicans win the House. They win it by default. This is excluding all the swing districts. I don't have a single swing district colored in. I'm going to go back through and recolor all the swing districts, but now we can start to see that Democrats are in a very, very precarious situation for the midterms because they can, according to the map at least, they can sweep the swing districts and it would not be enough to win the House of Representatives. Is that all of them? No, there's this one in New York. But now we can start to see the issue. We can start to see why it's such a problem for the Democrats. we could easily see a world where Republicans attain just the slimmest House majority in this election and future elections because of the way they've drawn the map. Especially if more red states, like let's say Louisiana tries to redistrict, that's not out of the question. They frankly have a gerrymandered map as is that was ordered by the Supreme Court. If they redraw it and they draw out one of the Democrat districts the Supreme Court made them put there, we're at 219, right? Georgia, maybe they draw out this district. South Carolina, who knows? If they draw out even one more, let's just take Georgia's, draw it out. They're at 220. Like, they have a pretty solid majority now, even without swing districts. And some of these districts will change. The point is, though, they have a big advantage now. And especially with the 2030 census, with the way the counting is looking, with the way that Republicans look like they're going to gain like maybe 10 congressional seats, we may be looking at, for the foreseeable future, a Republican majority. With the possibility of Republicans holding the House, we can turn to the Senate, right? Now, in the Senate, Democrats have a much worse starting point, much, much worse. Republicans currently have a 53-seat advantage, and there is only one easily obtainable seat. So if we color these in, I'm going to color them in as the current holder is, right? So the current sitting senator in all these states looks like this. As for who will actually win them, I'm going to start, again, west to east Texas. We have Ken Paxton running to challenge John Cornyn. John Cornyn is the current incumbent, but Ken Paxton is the attorney general here in Texas where I live, and he's less popular, definitely. He probably would win by less, but I think he would win. I think Ken Paxton will hold the seat. He'll probably win it by like 5% or something like that. Just like that, Republicans are at 50-50, right? If Democrats sweep the rest of the seats, it would not be enough to gain the Senate, but we'll go through anyway. Michigan, I think, who's running? Honestly, I've forgotten. Who was it? It was Haley Stevens. That's right. She's running as the Democrat. And then you have Mike Rogers on the Republican side. Haley Stevens is pretty popular. Mike Rogers has just failed. I think he failed to get the Senate seat, and then I think he ran for governor. He failed at that too. Not to say he's unpopular, but I just don't think he can pull it off. Especially in a blue wave year, I don't think he stands much of a chance. Right. I'm going to move on to New Hampshire. They're less competitive. Chris Sununu and Kaylee Ayotte didn't want to run on the Republican side for the Senate. They're the most popular candidates, Republican candidates. I think they would have won, but without them running, I don't think Republicans can pull it off. In a blue wave year, I don't think so. I think New Hampshire stays blue. Ohio. Who's running in Ohio? That's a good question. I honestly don't know, but it's a red state. Let's keep it red. Why not? All right. We'll move down to Georgia. We'll go to Georgia. Georgia has Ossoff, the Democrat incumbent. He is the only, in fact, Democrat incumbent in a competitive state this cycle. Without Brian Kemp running on the Republican side, I think that Republicans are really going to struggle. They have a couple, okay candidates, but they don't have a Brian Kemp, and that's what they need. They need Brian Kemp. Without him, I just don't think they stand a chance. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's not that they don't stand a chance, it's that Ossoff, I think, is strong enough. I don't think that Republicans will be able to seriously challenge him. We're going to go on to North Carolina. North Carolina has Roy Cooper running as the Democrat. He's very popular. He was the governor. Tom Tillis, the current Republican senator in North Carolina, resigned, or not resigned, but he announced that he wouldn't run again pretty suddenly after a spat with Trump. That is going to seriously hurt their chances. Republicans, specifically Tom Tillis, have won narrowly in the past in North Carolina in the Senate races. Without Tom running and with Roy Cooper, the very popular former governor, running, I think Democrats will flip it, seriously. I think that Republicans are going to lose this seat. That's the only loss so far, the only flip. We'll color it in specially for that. And then last up, we have Maine. Maine is an interesting one. Right now, Susan Collins is the incumbent. She's running again. She's very popular. She keeps winning. Even when we think she can't win again, like in 2020, she keeps winning. The Democrat running is this guy, Graham Plattner. And he reminds me of Zoran Mamdani in New York City. He's a very kind of populist, basically working class. I mean, he is working class. Zoran really isn't, but Graham Plattner is working class. He was in the Marines. He's an oyster farmer or something, something simple like that. Regular freaking guy. I think he will put up a serious fight. I can't give it to him yet. I'm going to give it to Susan Collins, but he genuinely could put up a serious challenge. But that's an interesting one. That's really the one to watch, is Maine. If I had to tell you a single race which will be most interesting, Maine, all the way. So that's what we're looking at in the midterms. And as for the future, things are going to get rough for the Democrats specifically. Republicans have all the rural states, and in the Senate, that makes a huge difference. they may be able to hold a permanent Senate majority. And, Republicans are talking about this. They may have a permanent Senate majority. House is more finicky, but the gerrymandering goes a long way. Here we have the map, right? Gerrymandering will go a long way. If Republicans can gerrymander their states, right, especially some of these southern states, get those blue districts out, those rural blue districts, I think you could see for the foreseeable future, for the next decade or so, maybe more, a permanent Republican majority, especially after the census. So it's just something to think about. And on top of that, neither party is going to seriously do anything about the gerrymandering. That is where our organization comes in, the Voiceless Voters of America. Again, all the links will be in the description, Patreon, Instagram, but this is the nonprofit that we run. I'm the founder, I'm the president of that organization, and we want to stand up to this stuff. We want to make a difference. We want to educate voters about gerrymandering, about issues that affect the youth, and gerrymandering is one of the top ones they're going to use in the coming years to steal your vote. Both sides are using it, right? We can't pretend anymore. Texas gerrymandered, and then California gerrymandered the exact same number of seats. So both parties are here to steal your vote and to do nothing for you. We've all seen the famous graph. I'll put it up on screen, but the graph where no matter how popular something is, it only has a 30% chance of passing if it's supported by the bottom 90% of people. If you exclude everybody except the top 1%, all of a sudden you're very likely to get what you want if you want it. But we live in a very unfair system, and more it is looking very unfair. We want to do something about it, and we need your help. We need people. No matter how much money we raise, it will not make a difference. No matter how much support we have, it will not make a difference if people are not committed, because our opponents will always have more money. They will always have more media. I can make these videos, but our opponents, we can make more. We need you. We need your support. We need your commitment. We need you to give money if you want. That'd be great. We need you to follow the Instagram, like our stuff, right? Share the video, subscribe, like it, all that stuff, because you are the only one who can make a difference. I can make these videos all day, but if you don't react, it makes no difference. So that's what I really want. But anyway, just wanted to get this video out there, give you guys something to chew on, something to think about, right? Is the permanent Republican majority inevitable? Maybe. Leave your thoughts. I want to hear them. What do you think will happen? I mean, I'm genuinely curious. Civil war? Maybe. Like I said, like, subscribe. We need your support right now. We need it direly. But I'll be done yapping now. So you guys have a good one. Bye-bye.